Good afternoon, this is Media Center Ukraine, Odesa, and we're starting today. You can watch us both on our YouTube channel or on our Facebook page, and you can also ask your questions online using the messengers that you can now see on your screen. Our current topic is the presentation of the results of monitoring the reception of citizens by the Odesa City Council members, and our speaker is Anatoliy Boyko, head of Odesa Regional Organization Committee of Voters of Ukraine. This NGO conducted the monitoring. Good afternoon. Thank you very much, and I would like firstly explain why we conduct such research during the full-scale invasion. We believe that one of the elements of our national security and our capacity to defend our country is self-governance. And on the 24th of February, before that day and after that, we saw that. And with all it's kept the local self-governance still there, and the people's deputy that properly fulfills his or her function is always a great support to voters. With our colleagues from other 15 regional centers, have been supporting and stimulating people's deputy for the last several years, and we also help them to raise their standards. And we believe that during the full-scale war, people's deputies are very important for their voters if they are responsible in their mission. That's why we decided to conduct this monitoring, because the meetings and reception of voters is the key support that can be nowadays provided by people's deputies. We would like to remind those people deputies about their responsibility, and also for those who are not responsible in fulfilling their missions and tasks to understand that despite the full-scale invasion, their activities are monitored. And you also know that every year we assess the activities of people deputies, and the reception of citizens is an important element of our assessment. On the screen you can now see the geography of our monitoring. This is not only the Odesa region, but almost the whole of Ukraine. This initiative has been implemented since 2014, and this year we did not conduct this monitoring in Kherson, and the reasons are obvious, because it is rather difficult for people's deputies to properly perform their duties, and we also were not able to conduct monitoring in Kharkiv, because at the time of monitoring we were just changing our partner, but we will do this in the future. We try to involve young people, and one of the areas of our activities stimulating people's deputies is involvement of young people, because young people is our future, and this is obvious. And we would like for those young people who are interested in politics and self-governance to be able to see with their own eyes how it should be done properly, how it is done in practice, and also to be involved in these activities for us to be able to train young people who are ready just to join different authorities. we involved students, and in Odesa, that was the students of the Mechnikov Odesa National University, the political science department. I would like to thank the management of the university, the department, and also the students who were very active. We also involved the Legal Academy of Ukraine. They are very motivated. In 14 cities and towns, they were involved in monitoring. Monitoring was conducted from the 1st September to the 15th of November. We have just visited around 360 visits to people's deputies' offices, and we also conducted excursions to municipal councils, and there were 19 informal meetings with people's deputies. And we were surprised because the meetings were really informal, without any pressure, and at some meetings they didn't even want to stop, because both deputies and students were interested in those meetings, and sometimes they could spend 2-3 hours communicating. And this is very inspiring, because we can see that we have young people who are interested in working to support our cities, regions, and state. Let's get back to the monitoring. For us, it was important to understand if voters can find information about where the reception takes place. Then we verify the information, because quite often it could happen like this, that there is information, but it is outdated. The organization of the work of the office, if there are some signs, if the access is free, if the reception is conducted by people's deputies or by someone else. And also it was very important for us to learn more about the information about the schedule of work of people's deputies when they receive citizens. You can now see the aggregated data for all 14 citizens covered by our monitoring. Unfortunately, Odesa is next to the last. Only 47% of Odesa deputies conduct receptions according to the results of our monitoring. And here I would like to explain that 47%, it's 27 deputies from 55, from 52, because 2 deputies in Odesa joined the armed forces of Ukraine. One deputy died suddenly in autumn this year. Secondly, there was one more important issue, is that there is a shortage of information about the reception by deputies. Before that, this information was published on the deputies portal of the Odesa region, but as we remember, with the start of the full-scale invasion, the portal was closed, then it was opened, but the information about reception is still classified, and it is unknown. We don't understand the reasons, because in other cities this is open information. This is the main source of information for voters. That's why we try to find this information on social media pages of deputies. We try to contact them personally, and perhaps we just couldn't find information about receptions of some other deputies. But the thing is that we really tried very hard to find this information, and we failed. And what can we say about ordinary people who try to get this information? And but there perhaps could be some members of municipal councils who just have receptions, but we are not aware of that. If this is the case, please contact us, and we will add you to another list. As you can see, we have 47%, 27 documents, the confirmed reception, and 53% non-confirmed. From the confirmed different formats of reception, offline 13%, only online 2%, and the both options 32%. One of the key trends that we have is that we can see increased popularity of the online format. So our deputies they prefer now online calls. We don't think that this is good, and but we cannot see some big difference between online and offline. But from the point of view of security and safety, online reception has its own advantages. As for information published, 32% deputies had their address published, 20% their working hours, and 54% contacts. But this is the rare cases when they publish all information. As for science, of 48% yes, more than 50% no. How many Odesa residents visit their voters? In most cases, more than 62% of the receptions that are there. This is more than 15% of voters. And as for the specifics of such receptions, I can say that there is a significantly increased number of such formats when people's deputies receive citizens prior to registering. Because before that, was more of a mixed format, and now we can see that there is registration. Perhaps this is related to the situation in our country, and also that the working hours are not published on the deputies portal. Those council deputies who want to inform their voters about the reception, who are more transparent, they provide information on their social media. And in Odesa, the main source of information for voters about where their deputies can be found is the social media page of these deputies. So on one hand, it shows how motivated deputies are, but on the other hand, this is a bit logical because the first source of information for voters should be the website of the municipal council. So the places where citizens are received in 27%, these are the premises found by deputies, 90% the general some premises or rooms provided by city councils that's shared by several deputies, 15% at their working place, 8% in the premises of the party. And this is quite surprising for me, but this explains, but actually it is difficult to find the offices of some parties in our city. This is illogical. And there are some municipal premises, etc. As I've already mentioned, here you can find information about how deputies inform about reception. 50% of deputies publish this information in social media, 25% they don't inform about that. These are the deputies who have prior registration before the reception, and they think that this information can be somehow found. 8% dispersing advertising board or a single post in social media, and 0% on the website of the municipal council, and 0% on the website of the party, and 29% other cases. What can we show more? So what are the requests of citizens? The trend is the same. 69% of voters ask for material support, 31% for humanitarian aid, And so this is more or less the same. 77% the housing, welfare, 8% tariffs, and then you can see 4% transportation. And it would be great if people refer to for financial support less. But this is because this is not the task of the deputies to provide funding. And it would be great if people referred to their deputies with regard to the issues related to their houses, how to improve conditions of the houses, streets of the city, because they are our representatives to manage the city, and they're not representing social services. And we also tried to create the average portrait of the reception. So unfortunately, in most cases, there are no receptions. We were not able to find this information. Not all information about reception is published. The reception room or place has no sign. Deputies inform about receptions in the social media. Around 15 persons are accepted during one reception, and they are online, offline format. And the most popular topics are financial support and housing, etc. And here you can find information about our initiative, how we help our deputies to work better. What else I can say here? The results of our monitoring demonstrate that the reception of voters by members of the Odesa Municipal Council has worsened. In 21 we have 92%, and now we have 47%. And back in spring this time we had around 50, so that the situation changed from this period, or perhaps we were just not able to find information about such receptions. But we checked all social media pages of the deputies several times. Thank you for all the such detailed analysis and monitoring, and I have several questions to you. 47% of responsible deputies in the Odesa Municipal Council. And do you have information about fractions? So what fractions are most open in their communication with the voters? We have the list. We have 28 names that we added to our report that is in public access. And I'm sorry we did not collect information about the deputies and their fractions, but I can say that in all fractions we have those people who have receptions and those who do not. How often do they receive citizens? Once per month, on average. 92%. This is the number for 21. In 2 years, we have 47. What do you think? How do you think? What is the reason? Are deputies preoccupied with other things? A lot of voters just left Odessa. There are several reasons, as I see it. Yes, really, some deputies they are a bit distracted from their duties, and so some people were just decided to become deputies just to solve their own issues, and this is their priority. On the other hand, and we saw that at the beginning of the full-scale invasion, some deputies thought that they could not support voters, that they should be better involved in humanitarian issues. But then the trend started changing. But I think that some deputies are still in that condition, that state, so they cannot understand how they can support society. That's why they have less receptions. They just cannot understand what to discuss with their voters. Last year, and we saw that the reason could be the following. The deputies used to have their deputy funds, and that had its influence. But on the other hand, some deputies could not understand what they can offer to their voters. And one more reason that I've already mentioned, there is the lack of information. Perhaps we were not able to find some information during our monitoring because this information is not published on the official website of the municipal council, and some deputies perhaps they have reception, but we don't know about that. And using this opportunity, we would like to ask them to provide this information, and we're looking for them. We're looking for the deputies who have receptions. And we really hope that the trend will improve. But in any case, I believe that the opportunity is there, everything in the deputies' hands, and I believe that their basic duty now is to support now their voters. And such receptions, they don't need some additional means, just the willingness. What about the mayor of Odesa, Mr. Trukhanov? Did you monitor his activity? No, we didn't. Our initiative, the assessment of the members of local municipal councils, is aimed at improving standards, and but our practice shows it is difficult to have an impact, unfortunately, on mayors, especially when it comes to the mayor of Odesa. I don't think that we will see something new compared to what we saw in the past, but perhaps we will focus on Odesa mayor as well. It doesn't require a lot of efforts. And I know that there was scoring of people's deputies in previous years, yes, and we will have the same last year. If we are all safe and sound, we will also just have the scoring this year. As far as I understand, those 47% of the members of the Odesa Municipal Council who are rather active in receiving their voters are also active during the session of the Municipal Council. Yes, usually these things are correlated, and in our assessment we have several criteria. This includes receptions, reporting, accountability, and also the attendance of the sessions. And now we have the period of reporting, and I would like to ask all the deputies to report to their voters. And this is especially important now, taken into consideration the amount of accusations against representatives of local authorities, and I believe that this is a bit exaggerated. Of course, there are some gaps in different branches of power, but if someone tries to limit the powers of the local self-governments, and that should be substituted by the military administrations, then just to prevent this, I would like to call for all the deputies to show that the situation is different, that the deputies are there, that they are needed, and that they perform their functions. And this is very important for all of us. And in our page, we also published a very simple algorithm of 10 steps how to prepare ideal report. And this is not that painful. It is, on the contrary, it's easy. Those who use this algorithm say that it is really rather simple, and they are inspired. You've been conducting this monitoring every year since 2016. And as far as the deputies become more acute on the eve of elections, during election campaign, I can say that yes, they become more active during election campaigns, but based on our experience, they are less responsive to such monitoring. And just before the election, it is important for them to understand whom they should agree with and should be done in their district. And some of them even for the first time visit their voters in their districts. There are different cases, but every year after we publish our scores and the results of our assessment, they also become more active. That's why we do this, we conduct this monitoring every year, because this is important for the future of our country. Of course, we assess our deputies. We also provide the list of recommendations, and for those people who are responsible, they just follow these recommendations, and they can increase their efficiency and their score. And of course, we had COVID pandemic, then the full-scale invasion started. But in the period from 2016 to 2022, we saw some positive dynamics, and even in our municipal council, we saw the increased number of deputies with higher score. So this is just proves that if we just are able to provide comprehensive feedback, and if this person is responsible, this person can use this information to become better. And I know that a lot of deputies were offended with your score. Did they try to buy a score from you? No. There were other attempts, like couldn't you just put a score now and then I will improve it like it used to be at school? But nobody tried to bribe us, and we would have never done that. Thank you for the work done. Thank you for presenting the results of your monitoring. That was Anatoliy Boyko, and we will continue our work at 12:30.